Hi everyone, Dutano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Xiu Xiu album, Forget! The art pop and experimental music outfit Xiu Xiu are back with a new record that comes right after a pretty prolific streak for the band. Up until 2014, Xiu Xiu has been more or less content to drop a record every few years. But immediately after the release of one of their most experimental records, Angel Guts Red Classroom, all of a sudden we started getting this slew of weird sound pieces released onto Bandcamp, a wonderful record where the band track for track covers the music of Twin Peaks, a Merzbow collaboration. Jamie even saw fit to release an audio clip of drunk commentary he drank as he talked about the album Dear God, I Hate Myself. And despite the massive amount of work that Xiu Xiu has put out over the past couple of years, two of their biggest years in a while, they are right on schedule with a new album over here for Polyvinyl Records, being put out for wide commercial release, all original material, and this album is a slightly poppier change of pace from Angel Guts, which made the listen a little bit easier for me. Songs like Forget even threw things back a little bit, in my opinion, to a time when synth pop and post-punk were bigger reference points for Xiu Xiu in their music. But for anybody who isn't already a Xiu Xiu fan, I think that the changes they make on this album are probably still not going to be enough, because they still have a very strange, polarizing sound that's so idiosyncratic and unsettling that it's naturally going to rub some people the wrong way. Some of the instrumentals on this thing may feature some very pretty chord progressions or melodies, but they also embrace every shade of dreary and noisy imaginable. And they're all topped with Jamie Stewart's frightening, horrific vibrato, which still after all of these years sounds disturbing, sounds freakish. In a decade where musically, artistically, it just kind of feels like everything's been done. The boundaries have been pushed, the taboos have been poked, but still over here in the corner is Xiu Xiu doing their own thing, still sounding as odd as ever, more harrowing than ever, and even pulling out surprises like on the opening track, The Call, which features these raspy, loud vocals that are kind of a mix of like, I don't know, a punk singer screaming and some kind of alternative experimental rapper rapping, repeating phrases like, clap bitches, why, cunt? Which in a way might seem like unnecessary oddity, unnecessary shock value or weirdness just thrown into the song for a laugh or something, but in a weird way, I think it actually plays into an ongoing narrative in this record. I haven't completely put it together yet, but the only other vocal feature or appearance or collaboration on the album that comes off this prominent is on the very end of the record, on the closing track. At the very start of the album, you have this voice that is very angry, it's all piss and vinegar, it's aggressive, it's in your face, it's very simple, it's not very well thought out, it's very lewd, it's very amped up, and this contrasts really starkly with the voice that's featured on the closing track, which is very dry, very drained, on the verge of death. It's very poetic, from what I caught in an interview on Tiny Mixtapes. Shout out to Tiny Mixtapes! From what I caught in an interview over there, this poem is actually made of a bunch of one-liners that are just kind of very short reactions to pictures of escorts, which is something I caught when I had most of this review done, because I try to do my best to avoid interviews and avoid reviews while I'm doing my reviews, because I don't want to read something that influences how I feel about a record. But as I was listening to the lyrics on this album, I had a really sneaking suspicion that something was going on sort of along those lines, because there's so many lyrics on this album that are sexual, take a kind of exploitive tone, a lot of themes of self-deprecation, self-loathing, self-destruction. And Xiu Xiu albums in the past have delved into those themes, but as I'm listening to this record, I just get this vibe that I am witness to the downward spiral of some trans or gay or just LGBT youth, just falling into a world of drugs and very bad decisions. Jamie's lyrics a lot of the time are pretty esoteric, so I'm not going to try to project too much onto them, but I still do get the sense of some kind of story or narrative progression throughout this album. Now, as far as the sound of this record goes, I like it a lot. I love it. I love the tension-building verses on the song The Call, the gurgling bass, the kind of sporadic rhythms that come together very tightly and very nicely when the hook pours through. It's very cathartic. The vocal melodies on the hook are chilling. Oh, 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 oh. The song Queen of the Losers immediately after takes a very industrial tone with its beat. It's very patient. It's very mechanical. All sorts of brittle distortions and a total freak show of synths and shouted vocals. The hook is very haunting. Everyone loves you. The pain has just begun. Wondering is easily one of the band's best singles in years. It's very danceable. It's very infectious. I'm dying for this hook. Wondering, baby. I mean, it's very catchy, at least by Xiu Xiu standards. I love how confessional and intimate the song Petite is. I feel this track adds a lot to what I feel is the narrative on the album. The acoustic guitars and the beautiful string sections on this track are a nice touch. Also getting a very intimate and confessional vibe off of the track Get Up. The really abstract and surreal imagery of pianos and harmonicas dropping on the protagonist's face on this track is really and I also like how this track is able to capture that same intimate tone but with a different instrumental palette. On this track we get a very spacious, very open and quirky drum machine playing against some very minimal guitar. The track eventually builds up into this amazing, huge, large, and full climax. The song Jenny Gogo is easily one of the creepiest songs on the entire record, with its throbbing electronics hanging in the background like a creeper stalking you. It's also topped with some of the most confounding lyrics on the entire record. The track changes colors as it shifts into the hook with these tundra-like icy synth leads and shrill screams. The song Forget is very much worthy of its title as a title track, with it being one of the most powerful moments on the entire record. And the song Faith Torn Apart, I mentioned that poem earlier on the track, which is a great ending to the entire album, but also the weird droney passages of synths and vocals that lead us up to that point are very alluring too. If I have any gripes with the album, it's that we have a few tracks here like Hey Choco Bananas where the pacing is very slow. I do wish more of the record was as visceral and as immediate as Forget, but the lyrics, the way the band continues to play in really interesting ways with texture, easily make up for that. And I guess my other very slight gripe is that it's not one of the band's more adventurous albums. It seems like they've stepped back to reference a lot of their older material, but they're taking a fuller approach this time around with better production and new instrumentation, new tracks, new ideas, new concepts, which isn't necessarily a horrible thing. I think some older Xiu Xiu fans will most likely appreciate the direction the band is moving in on this one. Really loved this album, loved what the band was doing thematically, sonically, musically. I think the songs are very well crafted for the most part, and I still continue to love sort of the vocals and the many things about Xiu Xiu's instrumental style that continues to make them one of the more unique groups out there in the underground right now. Feeling a strong 8 on this album. Charan.
Zishin, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best. You're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't die, because then you can't watch more videos, you know. All right. All sorts of other links next to my head, other videos. Subscribe to the channel, official website. Xiu Xiu, forget forever.